Hey everybody, it's Tina Campbell, the New York Regional Partner of Master Networks. We're doing some lunch and learns with some of our members because, matter of fact, I'm learning about so much during this time of uncertainty, but we're hoping to help some of our members and really beyond our members to grow and to pivot right now. And so we're going to go with some tools and techniques in order to do that. So today, I'm really lucky. I'm speaking to a friend of mine, Michael Levine, and he's going to be talking about mortgaging or mortgages and financing 101. So welcome, Mike, and tell us about yourself.
Well, first off, Tina, thanks for having me, and
Sure.
these lunch and learns are fantastic.
Great.
So I've been in the lending business now for 18 years, and prior to that, I was in sales as well. So I have a sales background, and my office, CrossCountry Mortgage, is in Purchase in Westchester County. I'm a Harrison resident. I lived in Lower Westchester my whole life, and my wife and my rambunctious 5-year-old, like I said, we live in Harrison, and love what I do.
So why do you stay in this? It's certainly, especially during times of this, I'm sure you've seen a couple of ups and downs in your career.
Oh, I have. So,
Me too.
y- yeah. So, I mean, one of the things, the biggest thing for me is you're helping someone make their biggest purchase they're ever going to make in their life, which is buying a home.
Yeah.
So when I, sit down with people at a closing and they get the keys to their new house, to me, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for them, but it's also a big deal for me as well because I played a small part, in that process. Can't go to closings now,
Right.
but we have for the past 18 years, and to me, that's just really what I love about this business, just helping people and
Mhm.
just looking at that smile on their face.
Yeah, that must be really cool.
It's awesome. It's you go to the closing, and a lot of times I'm not meeting my clients until the closing. A lot of the stuff
Yeah.
is on the phone, it's through email, a lot of texting these days. Technology kind of gets us away from meeting in person, unfortunately, because I love to meet people in person.
Yeah.
But I try to go to all my closings, prior to what's going on now, but I try to go to all my closings and see my clients off, uh, answer any questions they may have, and then give them, handshake or a hug at the closing, and
That's
just
cool. I
kind of
love
wish
that.
them well.
I've heard you say that before, that you always try to make all of your closing, and I think that is like super important, not just for you as a business person, but also for them to see you and to, I'm sure they want to say thank you. I'm sure you've had to probably hold hands sometimes, especially nowadays with what's going on. I mean, can you tell us about what's the state of the current, like, mortgage situation, and how you're handling that? And maybe, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but if you could, what you're seeing even just in the foreseeable like month or two.
Okay, so first of all, of course, I don't know what's going to happen, as far as the virus, when things are going to get to semi-normal.
Mhm.
With that being said, things are definitely changing right now in lending. The biggest thing I can think of is the way appraisals are done. Appraisers just not going into houses and doing interior appraisals as I've done in the past, for multiple reasons. One is the appraiser doesn't want to go in the house.
Oh, yeah.
And also, if there's sellers still living there, they really don't want the appraiser in the house either. Everybody's kind of worried, and rightfully so these days. So on most loans, we're able to do exterior appraisals. Of course, with that comes some challenges as well. I have
Mhm.
not had any of those challenges yet, but I anticipate I will. With maybe values not coming in where people are looking. So that's one of the biggest changes. Also guidelines are kind of going to be, changing almost on a daily basis, depending on the product. There's been some changes already on the conventional type of loans, which is, your non-jumbo types of loans, good credit, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Things haven't changed as of yet, but my feeling is they're going to change. They're going to get a little stricter as time goes on. The good news is, my team and I at CrossCountry Mortgage, we're lending efficiently. Our loans are closing still, as quickly as they have in the past.
Yeah.
Our volume is pretty high right now, and it's I don't want to say it's business as usual because it's not. Some things have changed, but it could definitely be worse. And we're like I said, we're busy, and we're also looking to hire as well.
Wow. All right, that's good to know. So let me ask you something with the way things are right now, with as much as you can tell. Let's say I was a first time home buyer because maybe I realized that, renting is ridiculous. And after all this is done and people are like in these homes or in these apartments or whatever they want to buy, first time home buyer, I mean, what should they be doing right now?
Sure. Well, first off, one of the things that I do when I do home buyer seminars is I talk about why someone should buy now as opposed to renting. You're paying someone else's mortgage instead of,
Your own.
basically buying a house and building up equity in that house, which you can use towards your retirement.
Right.
So right now, things are a little bit in flux. You can't really go into a house and see a house. So, there's not going to be as much, movement on the housing market. However, you know, it is still a great time to buy. I can't predict what's going to happen, in the
Right.
coming months.
Right.
Although my feeling is, once everything clears up, it's going to start to get very busy. But it's a great time to buy. I mean, interest rates right now are historically low. They're pretty much at all-time lows right now. There's still phenomenal products out there,
Hmm.
and a lot of times, there's different myths that go around. People think you have to put 20% down. You have to have perfect credit. You got to be a doctor to buy a house. It's not true. There's so many different products out there. I don't want to talk about, how much you have to put down, but
Right.
it's
Because
definitely a lot less than 20%, and it's still attractive terms. So anybody who's just contemplating or just thinking about, buying a house, they should talk to a loan officer. There's no such thing as talking to them too early. The day you want to go put an offer on a house is not the day you should start the process.
right.
You really should start the process, really, I would say 3 to 6 months before you're really starting to look.
Yeah.
You could do it a year in advance. That might be a little too much, but I would say
Right.
3 to 6 months is really, a good time frame because, there might be some things that you're unaware of, or maybe you're ready right away. You just don't know until you talk to a loan officer and they kind of guide you through the process and give you, ideas and options.
Hmm. I mean, that's pretty. So I've learned that from speaking to you in the past and hearing you speak at Master Networks, but I don't think that people really realize that before you start looking, so that you know what to look for and your expectations are real, right? So you should come to you. And the thing is if you think about it, if people are home and they're around their important papers right now, it would be a good time to at least speak to you so that they will be ready to turn on a dime when it's possible to start looking at homes again, or for however they're going to handle it. Like now would be an excellent time to just at least speak to you and to know what paperwork they would need. Of course, some people's jobs are a little iffy right now. So I mean, how should they handle that? Just start getting their stuff together now.
Sure. So having a conversation now isn't going to do anything negatively, right? So it's just talking and it's having a conversation. So, someone, let's say they're laid off or they're furloughed right now, but they're going to be going back to work. That's okay. We can have that conversation. If someone was laid off and it's a permanent thing, that's a different story, of course. But it's just having a conversation. It's just getting those eggs in the basket and getting the ball rolling. So, I might say to someone, well, here's what I think you should do in order to buy a home. So you're probably 3 or 6 months away, but we're having that conversation in advance so I can put them on that path to home ownership. And what I like to do is I like to find out what someone's goals are. So it's not just, hey, I looked at everything, you're pre-approved for X amount of money. It's no, what are your goals? How much you're looking to spend on a monthly basis? How much you're
Right.
looking to put down? What is your lifestyle like? So this way we can have that conversation, and it's not just, hey, our underwriter will approve you for this, or the guidelines
Yeah.
work with this. It's what do you want to do? Because at the end of the day, I'm not making that mortgage payment. The clients are going to make that mortgage payment, so I want to make sure they're going to be comfortable. But to answer the question, just having a conversation with me, it's a free consultation. So just having that conversation, there's no such thing as having it too soon.
So for people not just first time homebuyers, but some people might be like, my house, I realize my house is too small, through this situation that they're stuck in it for. So therefore, if they're going to sell something and then buy something on the other end and have use a mortgage, they should be thinking about that now.
Sure. So if they're thinking about selling their home and upgrading, um, now's a good time, especially with a lot of people kind of stagnant. Now's a good time to start getting that home ready. And when everything clears up, and again, I don't have a crystal ball. I hope it's really soon, but time will tell. But once that time comes, you'll have your home ready. And a lot of times, people are going to be selling and then buying. So that can be kind of a stressful situation. So
Mhm.
that's where we really need to have a conversation, to talk about steps and what needs to take place to make everything work.
Let me ask you something. So we've talked about people that are actually, moving. What about people refinancing right now
Sure.
because of these rates? How does that work? Do they have to have like a bank appraisal? And how does it work with refinancing in this in this time at this time?
Sure. So we're doing a lot of refinancing right now just because the interest rates are very low. But it's not just reducing the interest rate. That's one of the big reasons why someone will refinance. But people are also pulling cash from the equity in their home. If you can borrow cash and the rates, let's say in the low threes, good time to do it. You have someone going to college, or you want to do some improvements in your home, or maybe you want to buy a vacation home. So there's multiple reasons why someone will refinance. As far as like the appraisal process, so on a lot of my refinances, I've actually gotten appraisal waivers, so we didn't have to do an appraisal on them. On others, we had to do appraisals. So right now, it's going to most likely be an exterior appraisal. And if we think the equity is really tight, there's not a ton of equity there, it's a conversation we want to have. Maybe I'll speak to the client and see if we can get some, a list of some of the updates that were done in the house, because again, the appraiser's not going to be able to go inside. So those are some of the things we try to prepare for. But if someone has like a good amount of equity in their home, first off, there's a good chance we might get an appraisal waiver, and then we wouldn't even have to worry about that. And it is going through a regular mortgage process like you would when you purchase. It's a little bit different, but it is going through a mortgage process, collecting some documents, going through the whole entire process. Each state is different. So New York is different than Connecticut as far as a refinance goes.
Well, two things. I had a question about do they accept like photographs from the inside of a home? Are they doing anything like that?
So with as far as photographs go, sure. Um, what those will be used for is, we're just asking people, if they either want to take some notes or they want to take some photographs, and they just put in an envelope and they can actually leave it out there in like the front steps or in the
Yeah.
mailbox for the appraiser. They'll take that and they'll take a look at it. Again, I can't speak for any specific
No, but
appraisers.
that's interesting that they are accepting something in a different
Yeah,
format.
again, they may not use it, they may use it, they may find it interesting. Every appraiser is going to be different. At the end of the day, they want to make deals work, but certainly they have a job to do as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which is made so much harder, right? Do you
Fortunately.
so so you've got that. As far as going forward. I mean, what are the things that like like I've heard your sound bites of what you talk about, like you're at all of the closings and you're really tough to speak to. But what would you say that are the number two things that your company provides? You were saying something to me before. It's the way that I think your company operates. You said something about you're a little different in the way the company operates, and they don't sell the loans or something. I think I've heard you say something like that. Is that correct?
So we're what's called a correspondent or a private lender. A little different than a broker, different than a bank, and different than like a credit union. So we fund a large majority of our loans. We underwrite them in house. Not every loan. Some loans we do broker. Some loans are underwritten. On the outside. But a large majority of our loans are underwritten. By our team, by our company, and they're funded by our company as well. And after the closing, some loans we may hold on to. Most loans we're gonna sell afterwards. But
Hmm.
everything is pretty much done in house. Done through our team. Underwriting, processing, the closing docs, the opening docs, so all disclosures, all that stuff is kind of done under our umbrella. We're not, you know, waiting on any banks, any lenders, anything of that nature. It's all controlled by, by our branch, our team.
So and I know it's a little off topic, but with
Sure.
the disclosures, right? How are they, are they still expecting testing and things like that? I guess that would possibly have to do with the inspecting, right? But I mean, you have to get some disclosures, if you can't test, non-disclosures or something,
Um,
like for radon or any of that stuff, or mold or whatever, right?
yeah, so as far as inspections go, it's highly recommended. This is more of a real estate type question, or realtor
Okay,
type question, but
sorry.
it's highly recommended anybody who's buying a house that they get the home inspected. Even if they're paying cash, but regardless, it's highly recommended to get an inspection done. For them to check and see if there's mold, asbestos, check the radon, all that stuff. It's recommended. I would say every one of my clients do that. We do not require the inspection report. That's more for the person buying the home, so they
Okay,
can feel
so nothing to
comfortable.
do with the bank. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so we do not require the inspection reports. We do require title insurance, which is going to look at some other things. Obviously the appraisal, that goes without say. But as far as the inspection goes, we do not require the inspections. But
But,
if I was buying a home, I mean, 100% I would get an inspection.
oh, right. I just didn't know if the mortgage looked at that. Now, tell me a little bit about, like, I mean, this is a whole other discussion, but just you mentioned it, so it's about title insurance. Just a quick overview of what you guys are looking for when you go out and get a title, get some title, and you work with the title company, correct? And
Well,
what they,
yeah, so on a purchase, generally, the title insurance is ordered through the client's attorney. However, so here's what we look at for the title report. We want to make sure that it's clear and there's not really any issues. So they're really going to take a look at the actual home. We want to make sure that there's not like judgments. There's
liens,
not like open permits, liens, stuff of that nature. We do not. So on a lot of our loans, we don't require those municipal searches, but it's highly recommended that they get done anyway because it kind of protects the buyer of the home.
sure.
And the other thing is it's going to take care of the recording of the mortgage and that as well. So there's a bunch of things that are rolled up into the title costs.
Yeah, it's just interesting because to a certain extent, you're all separate. There's so many people involved in a transaction, right? But you're
Yes.
all really working together and have to, have to work together and have to say, okay, who's got this and is this done and is that done? And just to get everybody to that closing table. Now, how are you guys closing in this market?
So a couple things. I just want to back up 1 second. So
Sure.
I'm someone who 100% believes that teamwork is just one of the most important things to get someone to the closing table. And that doesn't just mean, talking to borrower A and borrower B. That also means talking to the real estate agent, talking to the attorneys as well. There's generally in New York, there's going to be a bank attorney and there's going to be the borrower's attorney as well. So there's going to be constant communication with them. We also send emails out. So let's say the loan is approved. An email will go out to everybody saying, hey, the loan is approved, and there'll be some, specific generalized though information on there. The loan's clear to close. So we try to keep everybody informed of what's going on, because without everybody working together, it makes everything that much harder. Now, to answer your question as far as closings go, so definitely they've changed. The days of getting 10, 12 people sitting in a room and holding
Forget
hands and chatting
Yeah, forget
is not only is that not happening in current day, but I don't know if that's going to be in the future either. So with that being said, now there's a couple different ways to approach it, and New York State has kind of lessened some of the guidelines on that. There's been e-closings where they're doing it online. There's a couple
like
things
a
that have to be,
DocuSign type of
yeah,
thing.
yep, and then there's a couple things that have to be wet signatures on them. I've had some closings where they'll go to the house. They'll put the documents on the front step. The person will sign them, and then the person will come back and get them. It's definitely a little more complicated now, but
Wow.
the attorneys are kind of figuring it out. There's somewhere one borrower will be in the car, another one will be in an office, someone will be in
Oh
another
my
office.
God.
But you
Oh
know
my
what?
God.
You got to do what you got to do. You know, at the
Yeah,
end of the day,
absolutely.
at the end of the day, you got to make it work. You know, so
It's like it's going forward with some technology and going backwards with some, you know, one pen per person, right? Nobody can, the days of pushing of everybody using the same pen, right, is gone.
the
It's
good news, the pen that has like the 6 different colors, and you press the little button, those
yeah,
opens.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you know, it has gotten better though in some ways, because the state did sign off on us doing you know, a lot of stuff kind of virtual,
yeah,
you know, instead of everybody being in a room. But again, some of the stuff does, a couple of the pages do have to be you know, wet signed, you know,
executed, yeah.
and we're going through that, and it's still an ongoing process, but you know, as the days progress, you know, it gets smoother and smoother.
Yeah, it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what's gonna stick, right? What's gonna be like the real estate business going for mortgages and everything is gonna be, hopefully they'll take the best of the best, right? That's what you hope.
We hope
You hope.
so. You know, one of the
Yeah,
things is it's actually, it's the first time I actually seen New York kind of the state of New York kind of give in a little bit and make things a little bit easier. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
usually it's going in the other direction, and
yeah,
you know, every time you blink, you know, something gets a little more difficult, more
yeah,
challenging. So
yeah,
they've kind of lessened in a couple of areas. So
yeah.
you know, hopefully it'll keep going in that
There's
direction.
it really so many, I think it impacted everybody. So I think that's where there's having and as we were talking about before, pivot, right? Everybody's having to pivot, figure this out, figure out how to do business together. And I just really thank you so much for coming and explaining this to me, because I mean, and I'm lucky enough that I get to hear you speak in your presentations and your 60 seconds in the meetings that we go to together. But I think really sitting down and face to face with people and to get people to like just stop and listen while we can. And what I'm hoping that people will get from this is that, they really need to talk to you. They need to call you. So we'll put your information for people to contact you in the comment section, and anything else, like if you want to send, we can send them to a website, anything like that, where people can be, can maybe set up these calls with you. And I hope they'll do that, because again, if you have any thought of going out six, as you said, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months out, start talking now before the floodgates open and you get really busy, right? I mean, that's another thing. So do it now, have the conversation, and know you'll be able to give them the right direction, I think. So thank you.
I totally agree. And you know, Tina, thank you for all you do as well.
Oh,
You're awesome.
well, thank you. I feel the same way. So I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.